Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not to Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about My Awkward Senpai Season 1, Episode 6. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, Kanoa, in her typical fashion, is trying to find a great opportunity to repay Kamigawa for the whole umbrella situation. I was wondering if that last episode, I was wondering if that'd be more of a thing of her coming to present the umbrella. I guess she just gave it back to him off screen, but now she's trying to find a way to repay him. But by asking him out for drinks, but then she sees him interacting with another coworker, but then she starts getting inside her own head about it. It's like she is a little jealous, and it also kind of like steps on the moment she was trying to have, but then she's also like, wait, what am I doing? It's okay, like I should be actually proud of him venturing out and wanting to kind of like get close to one of his coworkers and stuff like that, especially when she overhears that they're going to like a fireworks festival, and it's just kind of like, well, she's a little disheartened because she's like, oh, I guess I'll just ask him for drinks another time, just when she's trying to muster up the courage, and just every time she's mustered up the courage in the past, things haven't always worked out. So she wants to do this, and she doesn't allow herself to think like she's a little envious and a little jealous, but it's like, right, because I think she tries not to let herself think it, but she does think it to some level that it's more not just coworkers, that might be something else, because she's also thinking like, oh, this person's closer in her age group, because we actually don't know like the age difference between Kanoa and Kamigawa. I guarantee you it's probably still in the single digits. I don't know. I'd say it's probably in the middle. It's probably not even on a higher end. It could be 100% wrong. It could be at least like a decade difference in age. I don't know. But then two other coworkers from, I know one of them, the green-haired person, I know she's in their department. I think the blonde with like pink hair, I think she's in their department too. I can't remember. Or she's from a different department. Because the other person he was talking to, who we learned her name is, was it Mio Hata? She's from a completely different department. But they kind of were like, oh, you guys are going to this fireworks festival? We'll tag along. And Hata and Kamigawa are just kind of like, yeah, sure, okay. And there is this nervousness there. So I think they didn't want to invite them, because I think they're not really close to either one of them. But the moment Kanoa comes into play and it's like, oh, I want to join you guys, the others immediately bail, because they're still under the impression, because like 90% of the, I'd say, I'd go as hard, yeah, 90%. I don't even know what what the head of their department thinks. Like, Kanoa's like, and Kamigawa's like leader. I don't know what he thinks about her. Like, we've never really gotten his perspective on Kanoa, but 90% of the people who like are aware of Kanoa have bad opinions of her, think she's kind of scary and strict. So immediately those two bail, which Kanoa, it's her way to kind of free Hata and Kamigawa from their interference, because it's like, yo, these two are having a conversation. You don't just embed yourself in it and then immediately offer to go with them, because I think it kind of goes back to that conversation of like a senior kind of telling you like, oh, let's do this, and you kind of not, even though it's like on your free time, you still don't want to say no out of like respect. I don't know if that's kind of where Kanoa was coming from. It's also just in general of like, in her mind, it's like, at least have some decorum to like not just jump in it and invite yourself to something, let someone invite you in. But it's like they probably didn't think much of it, but it's like you did kind of like force your way in there. But you're also talking about Kanoa, who's extremely awkward, and because she couldn't bring herself to like talk to Kamigawa about going in for drinks, but at least she didn't try to embed herself in this situation. But once again, she's an awkward human being, so she would never do that in the first place. It's a little bit of a catch-22 if I'm using that correctly. So, but she tells him later on, like after she scares him away, which once again, she's like, yeah, this is the power of being an outcast. It's like, I knew my superpower would kick in, but it's still sad to know that my superpower kicked in. And so she was like, right, I'm not actually going on along. I just did that so you two can enjoy yourselves. But they're like, no, you can come along with us. Kamigawa obviously is super okay with hanging out with Kanoa. That's why they were kind of like, because we find out that this is actually like isn't just the two of them. This is actually like 6 people in total. It's all juniors because Hata and Kamigawa know each other because they started. They're juniors. They're newbies at the company who started at the same time, obviously in different departments, and they were basically going to like gather up with all the other newbies who started around the same time as well. And but I think the reason why Kano was kind of the exception, at least for both Hata and Kamigawa, is Kamigawa, like I said, wants to hang out with her and he appreciates her. So being able to spend time with her, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that after everything that she's given to me, like being able to hang out with her would be dope. Because I think on the level of like, she wants to know more about Kamigawa. Kamigawa wants to know more about her. So like they do enjoy spending time together. But then we also find out from Hata, she has heard so much about Kanoa from Kamigawa that she wanted to kind of get to know her herself. It's kind of like, I feel like I know you already because of how much Kamigawa talks about you and how much he appreciates you and appreciates all the hard work that you ultimately end up putting in and all that you've taught him. But obviously Kamigawa gets like very nervous because he probably definitely doesn't want Kanoa to know how much he basically glazes her, and which phrasing I know, but in the sense of not the, but in the sense of how much he praises her and basically like lives by like her words and stuff like that because he believes in her so wholeheartedly. But I mean, obviously, like hanging out isn't something that Kanoa does. She even admits like she hasn't been to like a fireworks festival since she was like a little kid. So this is new to her. We know how socially awkward she is. She doesn't really go out. So kind of now being tapped into going to this, it's like, cool, we'll kind of set the whole thing up. And ultimately, she's thinking to herself, like, oh, since it's that type of festival, should I wear yukata? And she's looking through one because she's like, I don't technically have one. And she's trying to buy one, but she doesn't know what style to pick. And then she calls up her mom, which I love that her mom is kind of doesn't let her get an edge in wide. It's like, oh, hey, mom. She's like, hey, babe, you don't call me, baby, you don't call me that much. She didn't call her baby, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's like, you don't call me that much. This is so interesting. And it's like, oh, the yukata. Oh, yukata. Are you wearing it because you got a date? It's like, mom, let me get a word in. And then it becomes the whole like, oh, send me over to one I have that I never wore. And it turns out it's very cutesy. And I think Kanoa thinks like it wouldn't fit her and stuff like that. So she ends up keeping like, I think the bag and the geta, it was the bag and the geta, if I remember correctly, that she kept, but like was going to get a whole new yukata. And then, like, her mom was like, oh, I'll pay for it. But she's like, Mom, I got my own money. And she's like, all right, that's right. All you ever do is stay at home and play video games. So, of course, you got plenty of money to spend. It's like, okay, nice way to throw major shade my way, Mom. But she goes and tries to shop for a yukata, but she doesn't know what to do. And then the store clerk is like, oh, hey, can I help you with anything? She's like, nope, I'm fine. And she sends a lady away. She's like, I know she was just doing her job. I'm so sorry, but it's like, I'm such an awkward human being. I don't know how to like accept help. We see that in just her work life in general. And she gets so nervous. And like, it's just, I think before she could even think, she said that out loud. Because I think she also comes from a place, and I think there's probably an even deeper level to this. I mean, standpoint, you don't want to inconvenience anyone. Which, this isn't an inconvenience, you're just asking someone for help, but it's like, you added how awkward she is, that like triple fold, that I think societal element, it just triple folds it. And so she ends up just like picking a yukata to wear, because she actually looked at one that, what was it? She was thinking of Kumigawa because she sees a yukata with like turtles, and like, I guess it was like Kuma means, the first part of his name means, turtle or whatever. And so she's like, wait, why am I thinking about him? So she pulls away from that, picks a yukata, tries to watch online videos on how to put one on, and it did not go well. Then she like goes to work the next day and she's like, oh, yo, Hata, are you going to wear yukata? And it's like, oh, are you wearing one? Because she's like, I was going to wear plain clothes. And then Kanoa's like, oh my God, if I showed up in yukata, it would have just made me seem like the person that was super excited. And then once again, you awkwardly overthinking things, because it's like, oh, I look like I was super excited to go to this thing and I was kind of invited. It's like, well, even if you were super excited, that's not bad. But she thought people probably look at her weird for being the only person wearing one. But because Kanoa said she was going to do that, Hata was like, oh, I'll wear a yukata then. Only reason why she wasn't going to wear one, she wanted to, but she thought she'd be the only one wearing one. So it's like, oh, works out. I think on another level, it also made her go like, oh, like it just added more to the like files in her head about like what type of person Kanoa was, and that made her like go like, yeah, I'll join you in this too. Like she's like that actually be kind of cool, and probably thought it'd bring them closer. And I even love Kanoa being like, so how are you gonna wear yours? She's like, well, she's like, there's two ways to go about it. You can go to like a salon and they'll do it for you while you're getting your hair done and stuff, or you can just like watch tutorial videos. She's like, that's probably what I'm gonna do. And Kanoa was like, haha, yeah, totally. And you're just like, oh, it's so sad because she went down the tutorial route. She's too awkward, especially after all that, to admit to Hata, like, yeah, I watched the tutorials. I couldn't do it. Could you help me? So she just ultimately, like, rather than admitting that, it's like, I'll take the first option. I'll go to the salon, but I won't let her know I did that. So when it comes to the time of the festival, everyone's gathered around, but some of the other four people have their bad opinion of Kanoa. Not that she's like a terrible human being or something, but it's like, oh, she's scary. I can't believe you want to spend like time with her. And initially, like obviously, Kamigawa gets very defensive and protective of Kanoa's reputation because he's like, yo, people spread all that about her, but that's not who she is. But before he could even really properly defend her, because they were trying to make it seem like, oh, that speaks more about him as a person rather than her. The fact is, he's able to kind of, because he's such a kind and yada 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 person. But for him, it's like, no, like I'm only like that because like he was trying to lean into like Kanoa is such a like, yeah, she can be a little strict, but she's such a caring person and she tries her best for so many people that it's like I can only be me because she helps me feel comfortable enough to be like that. So initially the group ends up like splitting up before the fireworks happens. They kind of just walk around and then like they go to the stalls, and initially Kamigawa and Hata are like, oh, we'll pay for it, but trying to be the responsible adult, to be the senior in this situation. Kana was like, no, stall food is not cheap, so allow me to pay for it because you guys invited me. And they're like, oh my god, she's so great for giving us her wallet. Gathered up a little bit of everything, and was it takoyaki they ended up getting, and it was hot, but they were like, no, as long as you kind of breathe in, inhaling at the same time you're eating it, you'll be fine. And then Kanoa, I guess, couldn't do it in time or whatever case may be. It lit up her mouth, and both of them feel so bad. They got like her some shaved ice to kind of cool her down. So, but the food turned out to be pretty good all around, and it's just kind of this nice like back and forth conversation that they're having. And I think at one point it was like the game that like they were gonna shoot a target and get like a prize for her, and they were both trying to like win something for her, but neither one of them could hit the mark. And then Kanoa starts getting like very in her own head and doubtful and thinking like, oh, I don't belong here. I'm kind of ruining their fun. I don't want that. She just wanders off on her own. And she's like, yeah, if they ask any questions, I'll just say like, oh, sorry, I got lost. And I'll join up with them after like, once the fireworks start. But I want to leave them alone. Because she's also thinking like, why am I thinking the way I am? What am I feeling? Like, what's all of this? Like, she just feels like she doesn't belong. And she really kind of gets into it later in that moment too, where it's like, she's always kind of been like, ever since she was even in school, like when it came to lunch or even like, I think she would even say like field trips and stuff like that, she would always be on her own. But it's like a moment like this is when she absolutely feels, trying to figure out why is it now it's finally hitting her and being sad. It's like it probably always was, but she probably could justify it in her head of just like not wanting to be around people. But I think it's like, this is someone that you're coming to care about and like, that now it makes you feel even more lonely, where you're being away from the person you like, you're making excuses to be away from them. Obviously it's like, well, then she ends up being extra alone because her Geta end up breaking, which I'm saying that word for the first, well, I said it earlier, but like this is my first time ever saying it, because I've always just knew them as like these like sandal shoes, but I never knew like that's the proper name for those type of shoes. So I was like, oh, that's why I'm using that word a lot more, because I'm like, hey, new word to the vocabulary. I'll probably forget them when another like festival related thing happens in a different anime or show or whatever. Just interesting timing, because obviously this is I'm catching up with the show, so I am behind. But just this week there was a summer festival episode on of Yano's Ordinary Days. Yano-kun's Ordinary Days, rather. Either way, luckily she was alone, but luckily was found by Hata, who ends up, contacting Kamigawa. It's like, yo, he was really, really worried about you. And Hata talks about, like, right, I was in a different department, so I only heard the bad things about you. But anytime I'm around Kamigawa, he just talks about who you are, the things he learned from you, how thankful he is to you. And it's like, and she's like, I know Kamigawa, and he's not the type to tell lies, so I immediately believed him. So I wanted to hang out with you just to see for myself and get to know you. And it's like, yeah, you're just everything that Kamigawa said you were, which obviously is very bashful to know. Like, once again, he talks about her in such high praise, considering what she knows, most people at the company avoid her or have a negative opinion of her. So when the time comes, Kamigawa comes over and he's like, I was worried. I was really worried, like extremely worried, which Hata had to be like, yo, calm down. You're going to make her feel worse about it, which wasn't his intention, but it was just like he was freaked out because he was like, oh my God, like, well, she's lost. I mean, especially because her phone was dead. Like, everything that could go wrong went wrong. You were alone. You were not with anyone else that you knew. Your Geta, the strap on your Geta broke. One of your Getas broke, and your phone wasn't charged and it was dead. So you couldn't contact anybody. So luckily, Kamigawa did a very emergency fix. What was it, 5 yen coin and a piece of cloth or whatever, and he did a makeshift repair on her Geta, and it worked out. So, but luckily, they were able to kind of make it for the fireworks to go off and stuff. And initially, like, obviously, Hata is dragging Kanoa away, and Kamigawa was like, yo, don't rush her, like her strap on her sandal. But she reaches out and grabs his hand and is like, right, like, she's like, don't get lost or separated. And them kind of holding hands in that moment is very beautiful. Like, it's just her trying to be responsible and just like, hey, let's do this, but also bashful about it. Him's very bashful about it until, like, they were alone together, still holding hands. It's like, oh, we can let go now. He ends up apologizing later on because he's like, yeah, I kind of spoke very harshly to you in that moment, but it was just because he was just that worried about you, which obviously, like, she's not too, like, offended by it. Like, she wasn't feeling bashful because it's like, oh, he's talking down to me or whatever. It's just kind of like she was understanding that you were just that worried about her, and she appreciates that, knowing that there was someone that worried about her in that capacity. And she even says, like, I wonder if I could have told him if we were colleagues rather than the senior and junior relationship we have, because it's a very specific dynamic, and maybe she doesn't feel too comfortable. It's like, as a senior, I shouldn't have that perspective, but it's like, I could at the very least feel like maybe thankful to know that he was worried about me, but it's a little easier to feel that way as fellow colleagues rather than a junior. So I just thought that was an interesting wrap up to the whole thing. I obviously, maybe the others didn't spend enough time around Kanoa to get a better opinion of her, so that anyone brings that up, maybe the little interaction they had with her will be enough to be like, oh, honestly, it's this, and this. And, especially you have someone like Hata probably going around, anytime someone tries to badmouth her, just like Kamigawa did offend her, I'm sure Hata is the exact same way as well. So I think she's a little more aware of, like, I think she has those moments where she's kind of peeking at the fact is that Kanoa likes Kamigawa, and it's the other way around too. I think it's pretty clear to her. So I think she probably can be like a little bit of an in-between matchmaker. I don't think it's going to be, not unless we find out she actually likes Kamigawa herself, but it feels like she's more in the middle where she sees that they both like each other, but that's the way I was getting it. Anytime she saw, like, how bashful but that could just be her being like, oh, I see how bashful Kanoa is, when it's like, yo, stop flattering me so much, I can't handle it. It's just kind of like, yeah, just kind of a cute side of her personality. Once again, no one knows, like, how she does a great job putting up a front so that no one knows how awkward she is. So probably the few people who do know, it's probably like, there was that friend of hers. I think he's I don't know if he works in the same, like, company as her, or works in a different company. Because he's in the outro of this show, but, like, he's only been in one, maybe two episodes. I can't remember. It might have been episode 2. She got in contact with him. It might have even been episode 1. I don't remember. So he's only popped up once. But also her senpai, like, are probably like, so those two might be the only ones that definitely know how much of an awkward person she is. I think the dude I'm referencing definitely does as well, but no one else does. From like anyone that her coworkers, probably her boss, just people in her general life. I guarantee you her mom probably knows, because her mom, once again, throwing the shade about staying home all the time and just playing video games. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see where the next episode ends up taking us. What other awkward shenanigan filled situations that Kanoa will find herself. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.